So when the wolf starts pleasing, that's a slightly different thing that can start to go on. Please see the wolf videos. I've got 3 so far prior to this video. The wolves have, because they don't have the same, first of all, their energy, just as a human being, is their energy first, and then they're in the sort of formation of the wolf, more like the wolf vibration, different energy configuration. The human is energy first, value energy first, and then kind of put into the human, which is in a different energy configuration, and then goes into the human form, if you like, but energy first. Now, when the wolf starts pleasing, the wolf tends to live in that masculine side. The masculine side will attack outwards. The feminine is the absorber. So we have both a male and a female child, and the wolf tends to live in that masculine part, so they would tend to attack out. Now, the difficulty that I've talked about in the previous videos is that, generally speaking, the wolves are deemed to be a subspecies by the humans. You know, that's kind of just the way that humans tend to think about the wolf vibration, you know. It can't quite match it up, you know. It doesn't quite match up to the human depth and breadth of feeling, which of course it doesn't, because the wolf's DNA come through a different sort of DNA line. They don't have the breadth and depth of emotion that they've expanded, if you like. They're more rootless, they're more fluid, you know, their feelings are not quite, and so they don't necessarily have the empathy or the morality, which we talked about in the previous videos. But they are very aware, very fully aware of this subhuman label that they've straight away got on them. Instead of it being wolf, because who would have thought there were such things as kind of wolves in the vibration? Who would have thought there were such things as wolf in the vibration? They've got this label on them that says subhuman. It doesn't say wolf, it says subhuman, which is very hard for their strengths and their prowess and their pride. So they've got that going on, this subhuman label going on. And they can very easily, though, fall into pleasing behaviours, of course, you know, because most of all, they want to be believed as a human being, with all those pros and cons, all the bells and whistles. They want all the bells and whistles of the human being, you know, bit of emotion there, sadness there, happiness, anger, rage, tired, I'm hungry, so the whole mentality and their whole dashboard, if you like, is designed for them to be as human as possible for their own seeing of that, their own visualization of that, so they can really feel as human as possible. So part of that will mean that they may and will probably go into pleasing behaviours. Pleasing in the sense of, with a wolf, it's more like being human. This is the pleasing. Being human, acting human, bit more emotion, being upset, maybe looking more upset than they actually are. This is the kind of pleasing that they're doing. Toning down their lack of empathy, toning down the lack of morality, toning down all these parts of themselves. But that's a very energy consuming, to constantly be using all their skill set as a hunter primarily, their nose, their ears, their far sight, using all of these attributes to wear a human skin, to be absolutely convincing, and mostly to convince themselves first how very human they are. Now, this is hard for them because, you know, they can't afford to put a foot wrong, really. And if they do, they've got to cover it really well, you know. They've got to be really on the ball, in control of their feelings in order to do this, really. To pull this off, you know. It's not an easy thing to pull off. Hugely consuming in energy. Now, this also means that they're being misaligned. If they're going into this pleasing to be a human, they're misaligning from their soul purpose. Because any kind of pleasing is a misalignment of their soul purpose. So they may want to create this, and this, all these amazing things, and these companies, and all this, and this amazing venue, or whatever they want to create. But all this energy that they have to use up to convince themselves and other people that they are absolutely human is massively energetic. And they won't have the energy to pull them off. They won't have the energy to follow the path of their own soul purpose so much. Now, this is going to cause a lot of resentment and pain. And what will that mean? Addiction. Of course, pain. Addiction is always a response to pain. So please see the videos on addiction, really important ones. So they will feel a lot of resentment, which they will put outwards, being more in their masculine side. So they'll be more likely to attack others subtly, or maybe more extremely, but a bit more vengeful, want to punish that human, blaming the human outwards, blaming the human for being the one that is making them have to perform like a human. But of course, it's them forcing themselves to perform perfectly, seamlessly as that human first. They've got to see that they're doing that first. But they don't necessarily see that, because obviously it's unusual to have this kind of this thought process that, oh, we might be a wolf. It's pretty unusual. So they just think, human, I'm human. But then there's this resentment which they can't explain. The resentment comes from them being pulled from their purpose of whatever it is they want to create in order to have to consume massive amounts of energy to perform or even outperform, be better than a human. This causes resentment and pain. Pain will cause addiction. Always. So then they start addictions. They'll be starting on a roller coaster of addictions. And they won't at times be able to contain their resentment towards the human being, because they want to point the finger and blame them. You are the ones that are making me perform, have to be this way. And there will be a lot of rage in there, a lot of anger, which may be, they may get into a fight. And instead of doing, slapping someone a bit, they may smack the hell out of that person. Because there's still, deep down in them, there's this simmering, boiling rage, which they can't really account for, And if they are fully human and, being human and not having to consume all this energy to, perform in this perfect, seamless way, where's this anger all come from? So it comes from the fact that vibration-wise, they are not the same as human beings. So they are trying to perform and please. And in doing so, they are boxing themselves into this very small cage. It's a kind of a human-sized cage. It doesn't fit their shape. But they've locked themselves in it to keep the shape, to keep the right human shape. And this is where this resentment and anger grows and grows and grows. But they have put themselves into this cage, first of all, To see that they are wolf vibration can really set them free. To love themselves as wolf vibration, as wolf energy, to love that, will see their resentment diminish. We'll see their pain reactions diminish, their need to grab pleasures, because they're in pain, diminish. The runway path for them is self-love of their wolf energy, just the same as a human is the runway path. Self-love of that energy, and not deeming it absolutely necessary for them to perform as this human being, but just to be the energy and love the energy that they are. And then it will allow law of attraction, allow their vibrations to come much lighter and less dark. And law of attraction can give them so many more good things. And that means less resentment, less anger, less bitterness. They can open up that cage for their inner children, their male and female. They can let them have some freedom, some life, to live the life that they should be living, running kind of free. They love their freedom. They're all into freedom of speech usually. That's a very big thing for them usually, is freedom of speech. Because of course, they are the ones who are fundamentally locking up their voices like that. Lock and key, throw the key away. They lock themselves up very tightly to outperform as a human being, to perform absolutely beautifully. I did this, I did this, I did that, I did this. God, I'm so human. I behave perfectly. Here's the thing, humans don't really behave perfectly. Fundamental error number one, they don't. Their emotions lead them over there, and then their emotions lead them over there. They may lurch. The fact that you're behaving perfectly as a human being is quite a good indicator. It's quite a good signal. that your vibration, that you can control that amount of humanness, isn't really human. The human doesn't necessarily feel, they can control, of course, but it's more usual for them to kind of be led by the nose, by their emotions to a greater extent than, say, the wolf. The wolf is much more all about, generally speaking, about controlling impulses and things like that. But very much pain. Addiction is always a response to pain. So really, no matter how good their willpower is, they're going to fall off that cliff of addiction, because they're giving themselves the pain of having to please, and the anger and rage of locking themselves up and throwing away the key. Their voice has to perform beautifully. They have to say the right things at the right time. God, it's complicated. Not only have they got to say the right things, they've got to say it the right way, with the right subtlety, with the right depth, with the right strength, at the right time. Did I say it too soon? Should I say it later? It's a minefield for them, really, because they don't have that feeling that will give them this sort of correct narrative. The feeling base that, say, the human being would have, the feeling would say, oh yes, do this, say this, do this, do that, say that now. It would all be correct. The more wolf nature would be very much about, it's kind of like the wolf has a dashboard of skills. Yes, a supreme set of skills, certainly, but they have more like a dashboard. Like, which button shall I press now? Smile, click. Yeah, smile. Say how sorry you are. Where's that one? I'm really sorry. I said that at the wrong time. Said it too late. Should have said it sooner. That person said it sooner. So you see, they've got all of this. They've got this dashboard, and it's so difficult and massively energy consuming to have to make these constant fine-tuning choices to be this perfect human. Which button should I press now? Ooh, did I press that too soon, too late? Should it have been a bigger button? Should I have really, really gone for that button and kept on pressing that button? It's incredibly challenging. What would they do with that energy if they were not pressing all the buttons on the dashboard in order to perform as a perfect human being? What would they do with that energy? Would it be resentful and vengeful energy? I don't think so, no. I think it'd be much more creative and productive energy. It'd be about creating something. There isn't the resentment being created. Resentment is very much created, and there's not the resentment being created here, There isn't the resentment being created here. being perpetuated, you know. Yeah.